in the plans to come, but
Okay.
that's around his enclosure.
Yeah, this is just his enclosure, but there's no perimeter fence like there would be at a zoo or something where each animal has its own enclosure and then there's a fence around the zoo.
No.
Not like that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Other board members?
Thank you. I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I will call for a motion at this time. I would just say before that, this has nothing to do with this particular case. I would have a fit if my 15-year-old son lived next to somebody who had these animals. Having said that,
What about a few miles away, since that's where I live? But I want you to still have a fit.
I understand.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I ask this board to adopt an emergency ordinance to prohibit the carrying of dangerous, wild, exotic, or vicious animals. Put it in place.
Mr. Chairman, there's one, before you vote on that motion, there's one detail in the ordinance before you that would need to be filled in, and there is a, if you have a copy of it in front of you, it's in section 21-21, which is on the last page, almost the last paragraph, and it is, it provides for a time limit for them for anyone who has one of these animals in their possession to dispose of it within a certain period, whatever the period of time is, and that needs to be completed.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying that...
And it could be, since this is an emergency ordinance and has to be readopted within 60 days,
Right.
or it becomes null and void, you could provide for a different period of time in this emergency ordinance from what you later adopted as a permanent ordinance after having gone through the public hearing process, should you wish to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need to take care of that first?
Yes, sir. I would suggest you just determine what you think is a reasonable period of time, considering public safety issues on the one hand and time to dispose of the animals on the other hand.
Can I make that as part of the motion?
Yes, sir.
Again, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
then my motion would be that,
Your mic.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, my motion would be that we adopt an emergency ordinance to prohibit the keeping of dangerous and wild or exotic or vicious animals in the county, and that we put into place also a disposal of the animals or removal of the animals from the county in a period of 45 days after the ordinance is passed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we would enact an emergency ordinance that involves the keeping of wild and exotic animals, and that we would include a 45-day period for those that might be existing in the county at that time. And that 45 days is 45 days from the time the ordinance is passed.
That's right, today.
Okay?
I have a question. I mean, we're going to do this emergency ordinance right now, but when we do the final ordinance, have we looked at the definitions of what's in here? I mean, there's squirrel, fox, leopard, I mean...
But I was thinking that once the final ordinance comes, we will have an opportunity to look at the specifics
I'm just
of
saying,
that.
and that was my point. When we do the final one, because I don't know if Fairfax has it set up that you can have a tarantula. Because I think Mr. Black said he knows people with
Oh, I
tarantulas.
was just saying to Mr. Culley that the definitions, again, the definitions came from the Fairfax ordinance, but I believe that they were intended to cover any animal that's normally in the wild, not normally kept as a pet. And the 45 days, the way the ordinance is written, would run from the date notice of a violation is provided to the person who has the animals.
That was really just a discussion point for our final ordinance, because I know we need to make sure a lot of other stuff.
Okay. All right, now again, I'm sorry, the 45-day notice.
The way the ordinance is written.
Okay, we need to listen to what's being said so we make sure we have an understanding of what we're voting on.
It can certainly be changed, but the way the ordinance is written, because it's intended to generally deal with any situation that would come up, along these lines, the 45 days runs from the date the county's animal control officer gives notice to the person who has the animal that they're in violation of the ordinance.
Okay. Then I just want to make sure everybody understands the specifics of the motion. Okay. So it's been moved and properly second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. All right. That takes us to agenda item number 10, first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 108, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of Caroline County to add Article, Section 7, Section 108.22, prohibiting the driving of any vehicle on the highway in the county with an unsecured load. Okay,
This was put on the agenda by the request of Mr. Black. There is already currently state law for this matter. This would just put it in the county code, so it's for your consideration.
okay, so there is state law that already addressed us, but the county,
Yes, there's currently, you cannot drive with an unsecured
That is
load.
correct. There is currently a state law that states you cannot operate a motor vehicle on the highway with an unsecured load. That is correct.
okay. I guess my question is, so do we need
Mr. Chairman.
If I could ask a question, sir, is that in the traffic violation,
Traffic
section
code
46.2?
46.2, yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't have a specific code for it.
No, I understand, that's fine.
so would we
county
be
has a
duplicating?
current- Well,
We don't get revenue.
you can certainly adopt a separate ordinance too, but the county already has an ordinance that incorporates all of 46.2 into the county's ordinances, and the reason for that actually has to do with receiving revenues from the fines that are levied. If a sheriff's deputy, for example, stops you for speeding and you have a fine, and you have adopted those ordinances, if you have adopted an ordinance that incorporates the state code, the state law into the ordinances, then the fine goes to the county. If you haven't done that, or if a state trooper stops someone for a traffic infraction, then the fine goes to the literary fund. So most counties have adopted an ordinance that incorporates all the traffic violations into the county's system of ordinances. So it's there, but it's not there as a specific thing that if somebody were reading through the county code, they would specifically see that provision, or the provision about the secured loads.
So the adoption of this would allow the funds to come to the county should?
No, they already do that.
If I may, when an officer issues a summons, he puts the county code in front of the state code, which allows the county code to adopt the state code so that the county gets the revenue for those fines. And so it would already be incorporated. If I were to pull you over and write you for a failure to secure your load, I would write you under the 108 code and then the traffic code for the failing to secure the load behind it. So it all would still come to the county.
So why is there a need? Well, let me just ask Mr. Black, you have a...
Well, my concern, Mr. Chairman, and I didn't realize this, it says, because we see the budget impact, however, adopting a local ordinance would enable the county to retain a larger portion of the revenue derived from violations. My concern wasn't revenue. My concern is the fact that, Mr. Nelson from VDOT does an excellent job, and VDOT does an excellent job of cleaning up the roads along Ladysmith Road. We talk about property values when you see garbage along the side of the road. Okay, consistently, and then you have to call VDOT back to pick the trash up over and over again on a consistent basis because you see whole trash bags on the side of the road. That is concerning because it's frustrating to Mr. Nelson, because him and the staff have other things to do besides pick up trash. But at the same time, when people are driving towards Lake Landor or in the Ladysmith area, you want it to be aesthetically, beautiful. You don't want to see a bunch of trash on the side of the road, and we've got that concern. So that was why I brought this. That was the concern I had. My concern is if people started getting fined for this, maybe we'd see less trash along the side of the road.
I agree with Mr. Black, what he's saying. I guess what we need to do is just ask the sheriff to do a better job in enforcing that particular law, if you will. Because, I mean, it is in place now, and the county does get the revenue from it. And deputies can certainly stop people. But I think one of the problems is the fact that when you see a bag of trash on the side, unless you see it fall off the truck, or off of that vehicle or trailer, you don't know who did it. You go through the bag and you may or you may not find a name, but again, you cannot determine that that person's name that's on the trash inside are the ones that dropped it off. And that's where the
If I can speak on this matter, I think what Mr. Black was referring to was the 33.1-346, which is the littering statute. So if we do write somebody for littering under the 33.1-346, we do not get the fines. They go to the state. Failure to maintain a load under 46.2 is something that just flies out of the back of your vehicle, trash or something that you're carrying. So Mr. Crowder was right, Lieutenant Crowder, that does go to the county because it's all adopted. We adopted the whole 46.2 code, but actually littering is 33.1-346.
And that does not
we
come
can't
to the
adopt
county.
that code. We can't adopt
We have not adopted the...
But we can.
Yes, we can. So I think that's what he was trying to accomplish.
Would it be better to just adopt that code, the 33 point whatever, such that the funds would go to the county? I think and I understand what Mr. Black is trying to do, and I totally agree, but I don't know that this is going to help that particular situation.
Yeah, and I assure you that the littering violations, I pulled the numbers from Mr. Black, and they're very small. Most people do not throw trash out their window when we're behind them. They look in the rearview mirror to see if anybody's behind them anyhow, but especially if it's a deputy, they don't throw it out the window. So, but we have tried to do some additional education with Mr. Black about people notifying us by getting tag numbers and identifying the vehicle and then pursuing the matter from that point on, because under that statute, it does hold the vehicle owner responsible for its prima facie evidence to believe the person has done the littering. So,
I guess my question is, would it be better to adopt the 33 point, I'm not sure of the number, but...
I think the real issue here is the littering and not necessarily the revenue. I know that if he's interested in the revenue, that's fine, but I don't think that's the issue. The issue is the enforcement of the code so that people stop littering on the roads of Caroline, because we have a beautiful county and we want to keep it that way. So
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
are you saying that we have the ability, or you have the ability?
we can
now?
write state code or county code. We have the authority to do both.
Okay, but on the code as far as littering is concerned,
Yes, sir.
you can write a ticket on that, and the revenue comes to the county. I want to be able to take care of both issues, to stop the littering if we can, on the county code, and to get the revenue for the county. on the
Okay,
county
then you
code.
need to adopt a 33.1
Okay, I think that's what we
346.
I think it's what we
I just hope that I've helped clarify the matter.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, based on what was said by Scott, we need to adopt the 33.1 code of the county. And I don't know that we can do that tonight. I beg your pardon? Yes.
How many littering tickets, what kind of revenue are we talking about? Because actually adopting the code and going through the newspaper ad, it's going to cost us a fair amount of money. 2014, there was 2 violations.
2?
So we're talking a lot of years to pay back adopting that. If my memory serves me correctly, it was 2 violations. So it's very difficult. It's, unless...
But I guess my question is the fact that you can write a ticket under state code for littering.
Right.
So changing this ordinance or making this new ordinance is not going to solve that problem.
No.
Yeah, it costs us money, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Sealer, you have a question?
One question. cigarette butt out the window is technically littering?
Yes.
It could be a Class 1 misdemeanor for throwing an inflammatory device out the window, and so you can be arrested for that.
But it's only
But-
littering if the police officer sees you do it. No, really, it's been a case already. That's been a case already.
Yeah, it can be a littering charge for
Right.
throwing a cigarette butt out the window, but we have to be able to have either a credible witness to say that I saw this happen, or we have to see it ourselves.
But you have dash cams now, right?
We do have cameras in all the cars, yes, sir.
There was a case in Fredericksburg where
Okay, so how does the board wish to address agenda item number 10?
I don't want to spend $1,000 to make $50.
Okay,
That's my point. It's up to Mr. Black.
okay, so we'll move on. Thank you. That takes us to agenda item number 11, request for zoning text amendment, vacation rental cabin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the next item on your agenda is a request for consideration of an amendment to the zoning ordinance that would allow vacation rental cabins. You have a memo or letter in your packet that explains the concept of the proposed text amendment. I will tell you that staff did discuss this with the Planning Commission at several meetings prior to tonight. The Planning Commission did not feel it appropriate to proceed with a text amendment on their own and refer it to the board. Based upon discussions with the individuals, they had requested information as to what other options were available to them, and were advised that the Board of Supervisors could refer a text amendment if it so desired, hence the reason for this item on your agenda this evening.
Okay. And I don't know what other board members' concerns are. I guess one of the concerns I had is it's on Long Branch Road, which is up in the Port Royal District.
Yes, sir.
And I guess we are looking at the erection of some type of a cabin-type building. I thought I saw 350 square feet or something.
Yes, I believe the concept is to allow the construction of a number of small cabins, which would have, bathrooms, cooking facilities, sleeping areas, et cetera, et cetera. The property is currently zoned RP, so under the county's current ordinance, in order to have multiple structures on a property, it would either have to be a family apartment, or you would have to subdivide the property at a density of one dwelling unit for every 10 acres.
I guess my other question is, what is the purpose?
Well, in accordance with the letter, the purpose would be rural tourism, to provide opportunities for people who wanted to stay in a rural setting as part of what new tourism initiatives that are being contemplated throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Okay. I noticed, I know that we have campgrounds already, and we have some issues, even with those. And to be honest, the thing that concerns me is the enforcement. If you erect a certain number of cabins, if you will, and I think I read somewhere where 30 days, you could only be there for 30 days or something, but I don't know how you're going to enforce that, how you're going to stop it from being a resident where somebody lives. I mean, you have to prove that they've been there more than 30 days or, and then when I look at the area, Long Branch Road, I don't know what's up there. We have some areas in the county where, there may be historic properties or something to visit, but it just seems like just a regular rural area, so I don't,
I share those concerns, Mr. Taylor. I think enforcement is a major concern. In effect, you would be allowing small, single-family dwellings that, based upon the enforcement concern, could in theory become rental units. And I think that we've had a number of discussions over the last year about temporary and other residential types of units in the different zoning districts. And that's been a recurring theme throughout the board's discussions. How are we going to enforce this? And staff shares those concerns.
okay. Are the persons making the request, are they here?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay, all right. Board members got any questions or concerns? If not, we can dispose of this agenda item. Well,
We don't need to vote.
we don't have to vote. Okay. That takes us to agenda item number 12, request for zoning text amendment, rural commercial recreational use dormitory.
Mr. Chairman, again, your next item is also a temporary occupancy type of issue. The owner of the Virginia Sports Complex has requested that the county consider amending the rural commercial recreational use provisions to allow dormitory facilities for ball clubs that might want to rent their facility for training and camps and tournaments throughout the year. I did include or provide the board a schematic earlier this evening showing the proposed layout for the dorm facilities. It's got a little number 12 up in the corner of the page. Conceptually, it's something that can be done. And based upon the applicant's request, we have brought this forward to the board to see whether the board wants to refer this to the Planning Commission for consideration. I think we are all aware of the Virginia Sports Complex.
You know, they promised us 2 years ago that they would connect to sewer. Maybe it's been longer than 2 years. And at this point in time, we even told them then that, if you wanted to do anything else, the first thing they needed to do was connect to the sewer system because that was a long-standing promise and issue up there. And from my perspective, until there's some reciprocation on actually following through with that, I'm like last agenda item, we can go by.
Mr. Cully?
And looking at this drawing, is this inside his existing building?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
He wants to turn the
The
gym
basketball
into
Right, that's what I thought.
dormitories.
Yeah, it's where the whole basketball area was.
Right. Yes, sir.
Other board members have questions?
A statement, Mr. Chairman, if
statement.
that's allowed? Just, I think we're going to let this die, it sounds like, but maybe we should direct the staff to inform the owner that connecting to the sewer system would make this text amendment at least get started, or something of that nature.
Well, I don't want us to promise him that we're going to do that, but I guess maybe we could say that before we consider anything, You need to connect.
Well, maybe
to the
that's
sewer
what you're
system.
saying.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's what
think
we
before it
said,
got
that's what we
started.
said when they were here.
Right,
We wouldn't
right.
consider anything
That's
else
correct.
until that
Right.
sewer connection was done.
We made that,
Loud and
perfect clear
Right.
when he came the last time.
Okay, gentlemen, that takes us to agenda item 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you're welcome. That takes us to agenda item 13, request for festival permits, Walkabout Music Festival 2, Hidden Acres Campground, Maydays Music Festival, Hidden Acres Campground.
Isn't that you? His name is Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next agenda item is a request for two different festival permits for the next 2 weekends in May. Permit number 02-215 would be for the May Days Music Festival, May 15th through 17th. Permit 01-2015 would be for the Walkabout Music Festival, which would be May 22nd, May 21st through the 23rd. Under the county's festival permit regulations, the Board of Supervisors is the sole authority for the granting of festivals for music permits, hence these two applications before you. As noted in my staff report on this property earlier, a music festival was held which did not have proper permits from the Board of Supervisors. So this, in effect, would be the second and third music festivals on this property, the first two to come to the board. There are some outstanding issues relative to permits, and Lieutenant Crowder is here from the Sheriff's Department, and Lieutenant Crowder also has a representative of the ABC Board to address issues related to alcohol. I would note for the board, if you look at the hours of operation or the hours of the music festival, the May Days Music Festival, the actual hours are proposed to be from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning. With a properly issued festival permit, music festivals are exempt from the noise ordinance. So that's something that you may want to consider when you look at the hours of operation for that event.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. These are the people making the request? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, if you will come forward, and then after that, the lieutenant.
My name is Janelle Carnes, and I am the administrative coordinator and one of the organizers for May Days. It is a festival organized to bring together all competing electronic music artists in Virginia. It is a cutthroat industry. It is very difficult to bring together this many groups of people that are doing it for the sole interest and benefit of the industry.
Basically, we've got friends and family up and down the East Coast. It didn't start off as a music festival. This started off as just a gathering of friends. And as we had more interest and more people come to us and say, hey, we support what you're doing, that's kind of how it turned into this. And it's still not, it's not very large. I just want to make that very, very clear. We're talking under 500 people in attendance total. Like I said, we've tried to take all the precautions. We've worked with the planning committee and Lieutenant Crowder, the fire department. We've contacted them, and we've tried to do, and we're willing to do anything that y'all ask of us to make this happen.
To address the issue concerning the BYOB or alcohol issue on property, all of our promotional materials, which I have with me, do not contain any BYOB. I also have announcements on our Facebook page and our ticketing website that says no alcohol on premises.
We made those changes today after hearing from Lieutenant Crowder
Yes.
last night. We got an email expressing concerns for the alcohol thing, so we made announcements today on our media pages and also changed the information on our ticketing website.
But how do you intend to enforce that?
We have
We have 40 volunteer as well as volunteer staff members as well as paid security that will be addressing all the ticketing and checking IDs. We have wristbands, which I have brought with me to enforce. Under 21 is red, over 21 is green. This is prior to being notified of the issue concerning alcohol, which we are more than happy to abide by any suggestions and recommendations and regulations of Caroline County.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Mr. Black, I yield.
I guess I have a couple questions. First of all, why do you need a wristbands if wristbands are usually for people who are like 21 drinking? So I guess why do you need a wristband?
We purchased the wristbands prior to being notified. I had contacted APC, but it was not the Caroline County office, and they said that our event would not be considered under the guidelines of requiring a permit for alcohol because we weren't serving or soliciting any alcohol.
Okay. And the second question I have here, I guess is the only thing that really disturbed me, is you had an event on April 17th to the 19th.
They are not associated with us. We do not know those people, and we're really ashamed that they were a person to represent our community. We have no idea who that person is. I would like to just make that very clear. And he is as well. We have no association with this person that violated your laws.
Yeah, it's not the same people. Different, completely
Mr.
different.
Fincham?
Apologies.
Was it on the same property? Was it, I mean,
Yes.
The promoter is separate, the property owner is the same.
So it's
Hidden Acres Campground.
okay.
Mr. Finch?
Mr. Finch, well, just one, and then you, go ahead.
I was just curious, have we sent a notice of violation to Hidden Acres?
Right.
That is my discussion, a separate discussion with the board, the way the ordinance is
That's what I was
written. I would ask board authorization to seek a criminal complaint in conjunction with the sheriff's office for that event.
Okay, just curious.
So that's a follow-up discussion.
I mean,
Thank
how are
you.
we going to say no if we don't, yeah.
Okay, I would, one of the things that would concern me, if the landowner has already violated policy, do we want to even consider other activities on that property until we first address that issue? It has nothing to do with the persons who are here tonight. It's, the landowner has already violated policy. Do we want to entertain another program on that, with that landowner? And I guess that's something the board could discuss.
Mr. Chairman, also, if I may, my comment is that the first event is this weekend. This would be their first, which seems to me failure to plan on their part doesn't give me a sense of urgency to do anything.
We were led to believe that under 500 people, we did not need a special permit, a special events permit, which is why we hadn't gone through the process. And then with everything that went down with that event on April 17th, when we contacted the landowner after that event, that's when he told us all of that had happened. And we went through every step, everything that we needed to do to take care of that. But we were under the understanding that under 500 people, we didn't need the special permit or the special events permit.
Was that from the landowner?
Yes, but I had also numerous times searched for event permits through Google for Caroline County prior to, and it inquired with the landowner at least a half dozen times regarding permits. And it was very difficult to ascertain that information through search features. And that was poor planning on our part, that we should have contacted the authorities through the county directly. However, through the whole process of contacting the county, I mean, we've worked really hard to work with you guys, and all we want to do is work with you guys in the future. And I'm really sorry that someone had violated your regulations, and we really worked very hard to try to improve that image to the board, and thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where do you hail from? Where's your base?
My home?
Well, I mean, all of you, three of you, I mean, where are you originally from?
Farmville, Virginia.
Farmville.
I'm sorry?
Farmville, Virginia.
Farmville?
Yes, sir.
Farmville, okay.
Yes,
We're
Yorktown.
from Yorktown, Virginia.
Yorktown?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
How did you find, you know, I guess my concern is the fact that you were able to find the campground to have this event in, but and I'm sure you had to talk to someone at the campground about this event, but you didn't bother to talk to anybody about the county.
That's where I think the concerns came up with the situation was after we had learned about what happened on the 17th, we had gotten a phone call and said, hey, you guys need to go get your permit stuff, get in contact with the zoning technician, Will Tucker, which we have been in constant contact with. I have several emails from him, as well as the fire EMS, I think it's, what's it, Loftus?
Yes.
His last name. I've been in contact with
That's him over there.
Maja, I can't pronounce his
Who?
name.
Mosier.
Mosier, yes, I've been in contact with him.
That's him over there,
He's over
too.
there.
They're both over there.
Well, how's it going again? So, and after we found out about that, we had the urgency. I talked to Will Tucker on the phone. He says, hey, get a narrative written up, get your proposal for the Board of Supervisors, get this in there. It's a $250 fee, you know, and come to Caroline County, let's get this in there to see what we can get going on. So we're trying to go about this is by the books that we can and follow the code that you guys have for the festival code. Now, I would, like I said, I would hate to be held because somebody else's actions beforehand on something that we're trying to improve and help with the county.
And I can assure you, I'll not base my decision on what somebody else
Right.
did. I'll base it on what I feel about what will happen at this event. But my other question would be is, Mr. Finch, when did these young people come to you about this festival permit?
This is next Friday. 22nd.
Is it in here?
In here? This weekend.
It would take
Yeah.
several days of discussions to actually get the application prepared and into our office.
No, I was just wondering when they first contacted you.
Yeah. The one date is April 15th for the application. I don't actually have the date with me when they first made contact. I could get that for you, but it was shortly after we talked to the landowner and the promoter for the first event about the need for a permit. So
I'm just trying to...
mid-April.
Okay, because the event that was held without the proper permits and was illegally held...
Yes.
Was on the 15th or the 17th, or 17th or 19th,
Yes.
something like that?
Yes, sir. So it was about that same time.
Yes, sir. Scully?
Can I have one other point of clarification? You talked to the landowner and the promoter of the other event prior to them having that event and informed them that they needed a permit, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
They held it in.
I got you. Okay. And the other thing is you mentioned a few minutes ago that it would be less than 500. Now, less than 500 could be 499. But in your letter that you submitted, you indicated 250 people scattered throughout the event.
Yes, sir.
And
No,
that's
that
over the
is-
weekend. I'm sorry?
That'd be my application.
You probably need to come a little closer to the mic.
That'd be my application, sir.
Okay. Well, but are you two together?
No, sir.
No, they're
So
two
you're a different
different.
date?
Yes, sir.
So you're the first date? You're the first date?
Yes,
We are the first date.
You're the first date, you're the second date.
yes, sir. I'm ADM 01-15, to clarify that.
Is the landowner promoting this property as far as festivals and music venues? How do you find out about it? I mean, how do you find out about
I
Hidden
actually
Acres?
came
Camping.
camping here with some friends and
How did
family.
you find out about it?
It was the same thing.
My
We,
family were camping.
all the campers coming to Carolina come back and want to have a festival.
It's a nice property.
This is right
It's
across the street.
adequate. It's got facilities on it. It's got urinals. There's 28 urinals on the property. It's got the sanitation and it's got the workers, Mike, and the people that work there that take care of the sanitation and stuff to give those a slack off of what we can focus on. And that's what biggest things. It's just like a company uses a campground in Maryland called Ramblewood Campground. They focus with campgrounds because it also generates income for the campground owner as well. Because I know Mike, they need uptake for building more cabins and sanitation, and he wants to add different things to his property. And that's another reason.
Okay, the sergeant had a concern, or the lieutenant, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Lieutenant, excuse me.
Lieutenant Crowder.
Okay.
I've spoken with Mrs. Carnes a few times on the phone in reference to a few issues, and she clarified a few issues for me over the phone in reference to having this event. She said she's going to provide her own security. She did not want the sheriff's office, did not need the sheriff's office at this time because of the limited amount of people that she was expecting. The numbers have fluctuated. She's not too sure of how many people exactly she's going to have at this event. One, because of the weather. Two, because of the outreach. She, I believe, stated today that she has 49 pre-sale tickets, 46 pre-sale tickets in reference to this event already. She's not sure exactly how many people would be coming each day, but I did ask her about limiting the amount of people that would be coming, and then once it reached that limit, would she cut it off? And she said yes, she would. The next question was, well, you already have pre-sale tickets, you've cut your limited people off, and those pre-sale tickets show up and say, hey, I've already bought a ticket, why can't I come in? And then you're going to start making some people mad. I don't know if she'll reach that point or not. I can't answer it, she can't answer it. She doesn't know how many people are coming.
Okay.
So therefore, I can't provide how many people would be needed for security issues if there were any security issues. And with the manpower that we have working the road, we would have to pull people in and call them in from home to come work a special event if the need arose to get that many people here. Those are some concerns. We've addressed traffic concerns also in the event, backing traffic up if it gets to that many people. She's saying there's enough property there to park 300 to 350 cars, which I'm a little skeptical of that many cars parked in that little parking area that is there.
Do we know how many people attended the illegal festival?
We do. She's saying 500.
That was what I was told. 500.
And we had no traffic issue, no.
Not that I'm aware of.
We didn't know anything was going on because 500 cars just drove up down 301 and turned in and.
A lot of people carpool when they come to things like these.
Okay, let's say there's 2 in each car.
Give
Let's
us
say
four.
there's
That's
4 in each car.
125 cars.
I mean, you're saying there's 500 people there, still
Still a lot.
100 cars. I just find it, my old duck theory, walk like a duck, quack like a duck, look like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
We've also addressed some issues prior to yesterday when I emailed her my concerns. It was on the website reference to BYOB as far as that is concerned, and that, since that has been taken off from her.
I have those documents available.
Speaking with Agent Kane with ABC, he's gone online today and he's got some paperwork showing that it's possibly still there. Now, whether or not it's there, once you put it on the internet, whether it goes away or not, I think
What's
we
the
all
website?
know. Once it's there,
What's the website?
It's on Facebook. If you Google May, M-A-Y-D-A-Z.
Hold on. I can't type anywhere near that fast. Okay. Just May Day?
DAZE.
May days,
2015.
like school days.
While Mr. Thomas is looking at that, is there a financial impact to the county? I mean, I'm not talking about what it costs law enforcement or whatever, since they say they have their own security, but does the county generate revenue as a result of this function?
Franklin, Ohio. Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay.
The Commissioner of Revenue is here. She could tell you what permits that she would require